By the end of this video, you'll understand your car's AC like a mechanic, how the compressor works as the system's pressure and heat generator, and how the expansion valve regulates flow and cooling. You'll also walk away knowing the physical location of each major part, the top symptoms of failure for each, and one simple maintenance habit that prevents the most common breakdowns. Drop a quick comment with the AC issues you've noticed: hot air, weak airflow, or a musty smell, so I can address them for you. The first thing to know is that your compressor isn't creating cold at all. It raises refrigerant pressure and temperature so the system can push heat out, not pull cold in. So let's follow that heat and see where it actually goes, following the refrigerant, the invisible heat thief. Most people picture their car's AC as some magic box making cold air. In truth, the system is busy removing heat from the cabin and sending it outside. The refrigerant makes this possible, moving through the system in a sealed loop and carrying heat away on every pass. You can think of it in one quick image: a heat thief, making endless round trips, pulling warmth from inside, dumping it outside, and repeating without ever being used up. It only changes pressure and state, shifting from gas to liquid and back again, to keep that flow of heat moving out of the car. The loop starts with the compressor under the hood. Most are belt-driven with a magnetic clutch, though some modern designs use a continuously driven pulley or an electric compressor in hybrids and EVs. You'll find it mounted low on the engine, with metal lines in and out. It takes low-pressure refrigerant gas from the cabin side, compresses it, and forces the molecules closer together. This makes the gas both hot and dense, so the condenser can get rid of that heat into ambient air. That's how heat actually leaves the car. If your compressor clutch engages but the air never gets cold, or you hear loud knocking or belt squeal, that's a sign of trouble. On electric compressors, loss of cooling can come without the obvious cycling sound, so checking power delivery is key. Next, the hot, high-pressure gas flows into the condenser located at the very front of the car ahead of the radiator. As the car moves or the cooling fan runs, air passes over its thin metal fins, pulling heat out. The refrigerant sheds enough heat to change from a gas into a high-pressure liquid. Modern systems often have a high-pressure safety sensor between the condenser and expansion valve. If pressures spike too high, it will switch the compressor off. So a non-spinning compressor can sometimes be a pressure problem, not a failed clutch. Common condenser issues you can spot include reduced cooling at idle compared to highway speeds, or visible damage and debris packed across the front grille and fins. From the condenser, the liquid refrigerant enters the receiver, drier. Inside, a desiccant material removes moisture. Moisture in the refrigerant can freeze into ice blockages or cause corrosion, which can then clog the expansion valve or evaporator, leading to poor cooling and even long-term compressor damage. The receiver, drier, also traps debris like tiny bits of metal or rubber. If you notice the AC blowing cold, then warm in cycles, or smell refrigerant inside the car, get the system checked. This isn't a part to patch around. The expansion valve is next. This precision part instantly drops the refrigerant from high to low pressure, letting it expand and cool into a mist ready to absorb heat. If it meters too much refrigerant, the evaporator can flood and reduce cooling. Too little, and efficiency drops. Watch for temperature swings, frost forming on nearby lines, or uneven cooling from the vents. These can all point to a problem here. Now, with low pressure, cold refrigerant leaving the expansion valve, its only job is to absorb as much cabin heat as possible inside the evaporator. That's where the comfort you feel at the vents really begins to take shape. Inside the cabin, turning cold liquid into comfort. Once the refrigerant reaches the cabin side of the system, it enters the evaporator, the component that cools and dries the air before it reaches you. Hidden inside the HVAC box behind the dashboard, usually just behind the glove compartment, the evaporator is a compact metal core packed with thin fins and narrow tubes carrying low-pressure, chilled refrigerant from the expansion valve. As warm cabin air passes over these cold surfaces, heat transfers into the refrigerant. That heat absorption changes the refrigerant from liquid to gas, ready to head back through the system. You'll probably never see the evaporator without significant disassembly, but it's central to how comfortable your cabin feels. If it gets blocked with dust, Coated in mold or deprived of the correct refrigerant flow, cooling efficiency drops fast. Reduced airflow, a musty smell, or a complete loss of temperature difference from the vents are clear signs something's wrong on this side of the system. The air reaching the evaporator is pushed there by the blower motor, which draws it from inside the cabin, outside, or a mix, depending on your settings. As air flows across the cold fins, it's cooled, but it's also dried. Warm air holds more moisture, and when it contacts the cold surfaces, that moisture condenses into water droplets. Under normal conditions, those droplets collect in a drain pan and exit under the car. On a hot, humid day, seeing water dripping to the pavement is perfectly normal. What's not normal is a wet carpet inside the cabin or a steady, damp smell. These point to a drain, blockage, leak, or mold buildup that needs professional attention. That dehumidification step does more than make the air feel fresher. Lowering humidity means a cooler, drier cabin and far less window fogging in damp weather. Without it, even air that's been chilled can leave the cabin feeling clammy and uncomfortable. Keeping the evaporator effective starts with protecting it from contaminants, and your cabin air filter does exactly that. Usually located behind the glove box or under the dash, this filter traps dust, pollen, and fine debris. A fresh filter keeps airflow steady and prevents buildup on the evaporator fins. Replace it about every 0 kilometers or once a year, following your manufacturer's schedule. Skipping this cheap and easy maintenance can choke airflow, force the blower to work harder, and create the perfect conditions for mold to take hold. Right before refrigerant enters the evaporator, the expansion valve meters the exact amount required. Overfeeding floods the evaporator and reduces heat transfer. Underfeeding leaves the surface too warm to pull enough heat from the air. Because this balance is so precise, even small leaks or refrigerant charge errors make a big impact on cabin comfort. It's worth knowing that the evaporator's position inside the dash makes it one of the hardest components to access. Cleaning or replacing it usually requires removing large portions of the dashboard, a job most drivers should leave to a qualified technician. By understanding what happens in this hidden part of the system and recognizing the normal versus abnormal signs, you can spot problems early and prevent bigger failures. Because, as with every other component you've seen in this cycle, the health of the evaporator directly affects every other part of your AC. And when one section starts to slip, the effects travel through the whole system. In conclusion, keeping your AC reliable comes down to prevention. Even a small refrigerant leak can quickly lead to compressor failure, which costs far more to fix. Catching issues early and building a few habits into your routine makes all the difference. Change your cabin air filter about every 0 miles, or once a year. Run the AC for around 15 minutes once a week, even in cool weather, to keep internal seals lubricated, and check refrigerant levels roughly every 2 years or when cooling drops to avoid long-term damage. If you can name each major component, point to where it sits, and match one symptom to each, you've already saved time and money on your next repair. If these tips helped you diagnose or prevent AC issues, hit the like button and comment with the one AC symptom you'd like help identifying.